Yeah, I did it.
Okay, so what do? You go to your Amazon S3 and go to your bucket. Let's figure out your conical ID and let's try and do a mix of match. You see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the moment you go inside, so this is the option we selected earlier, right?
Yeah. So public access is given, right?
No, block public. See, we did not enable all other options. The ACL.
Okay, only one option.
Only one, the first one, right?
Right.
Block public access to buckets and objects
Right.
granted through new access control list, actually. So we need to form a new access control list, right, for us to access the resources which are in the storage. See, I did select conical ID pertaining to Sukanya. Sukanya, you just one try. Can you try and browse this page, whatever I gave you some time back, or should I give you again?
Yes, Santir, I'll say to it.
Just see through that, yeah, please. I give you full permission to access this. See, here it is. The conical ID is here. In the ARN, no?
This is your folder ID, right? Or folder
This
permission?
is early rise, the bucket.
Okay, yeah, bucket.
Bucket.
Santil, I'm not able to view it. Again, it's showing the same thing.
Same access denied permission, is it?
Yes, Santil.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Santil, this is Arvind.
Arvind, yes.
Yeah. Yesterday, I created a bucket and then uploaded an object into it. It was basically a JPEG file. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I gave permission, necessary permission. And I tried to use the URL of that bucket to the object.
Okay.
On the browser. But it was throwing some XML error. It
Same thing. That is what we are discussing now.
Exactly. So I mean, this particular problem is consistent, right? What I tried yesterday and what Sukanya and you are trying
to do. Exactly right. Correct. That is what actually looks like. See, what happens if I go to early rise bucket, okay, and I select this file, the one which I put in inside, right? And I have an option, okay, and I go there. As an individual owner, I am able to do that. See, the option of make public has been disabled because of my policy, right? Go to permission. Again, I'll have to come to permission. Then if I make this public access, right? What happens? So it will allow. It's not getting applied, yeah, Arvind.
Yeah, I had this, problem yesterday. The same problem,
Acknowledged.
Yeah, I in fact, enabled all the three options there, right? Read the permissions and also write the permissions, right? But it didn't pick it up.
Hmm. Let me change the permission here first.
No, that will block everything.
No, I'm disabling it.
Oh, okay.
So public access has been done. Okay.
Right, yeah.
Now I go back to the file.
See, here we are, giving permissions at two levels, right? One at the bucket level and one at the object level itself. So which one overrides the other?
Correct.
Right? That could be a problem.
See, actually, it is based on ACL, access control list. Actually, we can create a specific access control list within the account. That means within my account, whoever is able to have an access to my environment, and they should be able to, do whatever feel like they are doing it. Actually,
Right.
see, look at the option now. Earlier, public was not visible. It is now visible.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Let me make it public for now. So Sugana, can you refresh and see from your end? Is it opening?
Yes, Senthil, 1 second.
Are you both in the same region?
Yes,
Because,
Senthil, it's working now.
It's working for you, right? So that means there is some permission issue actually within the AWS aspect of it, right? So let's try and fix it some other time. For now, we'll move on, right? Okay. So now Amazon S3 bucket, we all understand, right? The different type of buckets and, the multiple folders and files. And this can be stored and retrieved, over a public, right?
Yes,
Get
sir.
that option, and we know how to navigate and go around to various these three services offered in the different zones. Okay, so that is good. All right, so now let's do some recapping. EC2, we are all comfortable, right? We can go to EC2 and we'll be able to provision different type of instances, and we talked about multiple type of instance types, right? And different variety of instances and all those things. So there we don't have any problem, and we are good in terms of creating elastic groups and the required the keys, and all those things are good to go for us. Actually, looks like, right? Now let us see. We talked about volumes, we talked about snapshot, we talked about security group, key pair, and all those things we talked about. Load balancer is something which we have not touched so far. Correct, team?
Yes.
We'll talk about that in a while. Before that, we'll finish up the concept of virtual private cloud network concepts with respect to various things. But before that, we'll touch a bit about the storage gateway and the backup, right? So that can be sort of a completion. See, storage gateway is basically, what do you mean by storage gateway is in the organization, generally what happens for you to put your data, they will give you a shared drive, right? So maybe if you are working on a server or if you're working on a project, your IT admin will always create a shared path, which is, denoted by the IP address or name. And then it will be like // right? // and the path name, like could be a training folder or whatever it is. And that can be mounted into your local machine as a sort of an external or internal drive. And the way you work with any other file system like C drive, D drive, E drive, and you'll be able to work with the network drive as well. So the storage gateway is basically what happens actually from a larger organization. So keep in mind about, they have 10,000 plus people who are working. And for them, the storage service has been provisioned by us, and they'll have to use it actually, right? So what they can do technically, storage gateway is like sort of a place which gets integrated either through a API call or as a mount point on the local machine, which can be used in a different form factor, and the data whatever has been generated by a departmental team or an individual person can access and put those files into AWS S3 through the storage gateway as a service actually. Okay, guys?
Chantil, I didn't really get it what you told so far.
No problem. I'll reiterate again. Okay. So see, look at, you're able to see my screen, right?
Yes, Chantil.
Okay. So look at the explanation offered by AWS Storage Gateway. The AWS Storage Gateway is a service, right? Connecting an on-premise software appliance with cloud-based storage to provide seamless and secure integration between an organization's on-premises IT environment and AWS storage infrastructure. Okay, let's get started. Let's do some, we'll create this. Done?
This is Arvind.
Yeah, Arvind.
Is this an ongoing activity, or is it, a kind of?
It's a one-time activity done by people, and then it will be scaled over a period of time.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's what I was supposed to ask. So initially, they give us, whatever mount point or whatever way we can, store our data. But Amazon, also has got an appliance, right, for huge data which cannot be, copied over the network, even with 1 GB or 10 GB, dedicated link to their service. That also is an option, isn't it?
Correct. See, imagine a situation of a file server, right? So file server, Windows file server is one of the type of file server. Linux is one of the type of file server. And this is another, appliance, which sort of, we will try and do this, as an exercise we will do, and you'll all understand actually how the gateway works. Okay, and from your individual machine, you can able to transfer the data and move whatever you feel like doing it, right? We'll do that.
Okay, I mean, in the traditional sense, it is storage to storage replication kind of a thing, isn't it?
Correct. It can be a server wherein, it could be a mount point for you to drop the data there.
Sure. Okay.
So what I'll use this free tier, general purpose one. Okay. And review and launch.
So gateway is only between the on-premise, connectivity between on-premise and cloud, is it?
Correct.
Not between cloud to cloud?
You can do that as well. Why not? See, on-prem, if you are able to do from other cloud also, we can do. I mean, the resources which is running in other cloud can obviously have an access to this. Means you can bring a data of Azure to AWS.
Yeah, so I mean, most of the organizations now have multi-cloud, right? So
yeah. It's getting initialized. Meantime, let's talk about the, so I'm just trying to use the local endpoint wherein, this is actually a sort of a appliance. You need to imagine this as an appliance which does a storage service actually for various things. Look at when I selected a launch instance, and this is what actually the parameters which is gone directly from the EC2 console, and they recommend M4, but I don't think we can pay and get that, and we'll do a auto configure of this instance. That means the storage services, whatever need to be enabled, right? So that gets automatically deployed because this is an image or AMI machine image which is given by Amazon. Okay. Let's see whether it has come up. Yes, it's still initializing. We'll go back. We'll talk about various options. So these all we know, right? Sign up for AWS Storage Gateway, AWS regions and requirements. Let's understand what requirements we need to capture, right? That's a fundamental element of us to design certain things actually. Now look at it. So what they are talking about it. So first is the hardware and storage requirement. Maybe in our case, we will do a minimal of size, right? Network and firewall requirements for people to be accessing and enabling the various permissions, and the supported hypervisor and host requirement. So it is a appliance based. So you need to be, see, it is like creating a Windows image, right? So we launched an instance. Similar way, we will be launching another instance, which will have a services configured on top of the base OS. The earlier configuration of instance was just OS. So this will have a role addition to the base OS, called the storage gateway. And the storage gateway can be deployed, we have a variety of format actually. So this can be deployed as a VM agent, right? And it also supports the hypervisor, the component of it, and it can also be the KVM, which is based on the Linux. On top of it, in fact, AWS EC2 also has a sort of image which is pre-built for us to go and select simply. Rather, we putting all our efforts in creating that role and then uploading that image into AWS. So AWS has done that sort of pre-built for us to use it actually. Okay. The storage gateway, basically, what all things we can do with the storage gateway is like simply we can mount this file system in our machine as another additional disk, and from our volume like C drive, E drive, we can copy the entire file from there to there. That is the actual use case of the storage gateway, to be honest. Majoritively, this is used for backup. Okay, you're able to see my screen. Okay, this is running. Right. Arvind, bolo.
Yeah, I mean, is there a recommendation from Amazon, the AWS, that if your data is between this and this size, use this option, and then the next step, next higher step, use a option which is the second option, and then finally, if it runs into several terabytes, then use the appliance which they ship that to us. Is there a recommendation like that?
I think it's there in the best practices thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have a look at it.
Now, Arvind, let me answer your question actually. So the question is, what could be the right use case for us to deploy this, right? If you are able to identify the use case for a storage service to be used, and what would be the ideal method in which we can do that, correct?
Right, that's right, yes.
Okay. See, storage gateway, basically, so for now, gateway is like an entry point where you go and access certain service, right? AWS provisions this as a service component for a large organization. Like, you cannot go and access the data over a public internet the way we have done it. We shared certain files and you all accessed
Right.
over the, right? You went to the URL and opened it and it came. See, that is very different use cases. So the use cases could be for public access, might be Netflix is one good option. And the sort of people, right? They don't care actually about the data. But when it comes to organization like Sony or IBM or whoever it is, they may not prefer to do this exchange of information over the public, right? They will always look for a contained area which is controlled and secure. I mean, that's where actually sort of services of storage gateway comes and does a play, because it enables a secure way in which data can be accessed and data can be placed and data can be retrieved.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Suganya, you have an understanding of what I'm talking about it, or can I repeat again? Do not mind, please, guys.
Senthil, maybe I can have a similar explanation for this.
Okay, fine. Now I will have to start from the basic foundation. Let me go to foundation. Okay, foundationally.
Sandil, just one thing. Is it possible to just correlate with some common example which we use here?
Yeah, that is what I'm trying to think about it actually, right? So your normal use case, right? So now.
Yes, right.
Senthil, I think the best example. Hello.
Yeah, Arvind, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think the best example.
Yeah, I'm able to hear you.
To make it more simpler is the use of various drives that get mapped on at login, right, at Office. Okay, so say for example, C drive will have project data, F drive will have something else, Z drive will take you to your file. I think we can correlate similarly, assuming that the Z drive is actually pointing to the Amazon server, which is at their premises. So that can be the best example.
Let me give you a right architectural diagram. Let me present it on your screen. That will give a clarity actually. You see my screen, guys?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. Yes. Now, imagine, Sukanya, your laptop is a server. Okay. Team, similar way, right? So storage gateway allows people to transfer the data either through SMB protocol or through NFS, right? And this gateway connects to the network which is created on AWS. Look at my screen. Okay. So this is either over the internet or through VPC or through direct connect. We'll talk about this VPC and direct connect in a different session. So look at internet. So from the gateway, what happens? You don't go to the public internet and come over here. The gateway has a sort of credentials pertaining to this S3 and S3 infrequent access and Amazon Glacier, right? The backend is this component. See, from an application server, like imagine a server which writes a log. You are a tester, right?
Yes. Yes,
yeah. So you are trying to generate a huge amount of test logs for one of your web server. So that has to be captured somewhere, and if you put it on a local C drive, that gets full, right? Sometimes. Yes. Then you'll have to clear and delete everything. In such sort of use cases, what happens? The log file path can be, denoted to the storage gateway path, and the gateway path will take those respective data from your application server to the respective component which is sitting in AWS. It could be S3, or it could be S3IA, or it could be Glacier. Got it?
Got it, Senthil.
Right, now you are able to follow through, right?
Yeah, now I've got it.
I'll go to another architecture now. Okay. Now, see now you are a user and you have a client and you are accessing some server in your data center. Got it?
Yes,
This is
Senthil.
an application server. This application server has got a lot of component actually, wherein the server can be connected through ISKCE. It can be connected through a FC channel. It can be connected through variety of medium to the underlying storage. You look at the storage here, storage area network and network attached and direct attached storage. All three are different type of storage. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Now, likewise, what happens when we create a VM of a sort, which is like, you know, you are the one which I was trying to create an instance, right, on EC2. That instant image, whatever we create on AWS need to be downloaded and kept here in the data center. Okay.
Okay.
The server, we will have to associate this configuration. So, you know, it has to be connected to the particular server through ISKCE. ISKCE enables access over the Ethernet, which is Internet SCSI, basically it is called. Okay, people who have an experience of IP SAN, or it's one type of SAN actually. So it is accessing the storage area network through IP address. In this case, it's not a physical switch or a physical medium. It is a virtual appliance which is acting as a virtual switch, virtual storage, and everything. Okay. So it has an underlying access to your storage as well as the underlying access to the S3 storage. But technically what happens, this gateway service goes and pulls the required component, be it a volume, be it a S3, whatever it is, it brings in and gives it to a server locally.
Yes, Senthil, got it now.
You got it now? Guys,
Yeah,
any
yeah.
other doubt from anybody else, please let me know. Ajit?
So basically here, the host thing, which is the virtual gateway is there, it basically acts as a kind of server, right?
Agent, yeah, it is a kind of agent actually.
Oh,
Okay.
Senthil, got it now.
Yeah, Senthil, I'm clear about it.
Right. Now another use case.
And
You are
then you
clear
have
about
this
it,
load
right?
balancer, elastic load balancer and all in between there, right?
We can talk, we can set up all those things, and that's an additional layer of component, but underneath the plain architecture is this.
So it goes to the gateway, then to the VPC,
Correct.
and then to the application tier, right? Web
Correct.
application tier, and then the database.
So now look at the earlier use case is basically the architecture is talks about, normal storage, the volume storage. If you look at user, a client working on the server, it could be any server, right? He generates some data. That server is underneath connected to the ISKCE port through the gateway VM. Okay, this gateway VM, can put the data back into your the data which is available, or the SAN which is available locally on the data center. Plus, it also has an integration with Amazon S3. It could be any volume. I mean, it could be S3 volume, S3 bucket, whatever it is, and it can take the data and put it here. The next use case is for snapshots. You can move the snapshot of your entire image from here to the remote site. That's what the other architecture diagram talks about it. So I'll move down a bit more, right? See why we need to worry about all those things. I'll tell you why. Right, the following diagram talks about overview of tape gateway deployment. Now, tape is something but nothing but used for backing up. In the data center wall, there is a server. The server will be associated with the tape drive. The tape drive, is nothing but a tape which is fed into the tape library through a magazine, and the command gets ignited. Initiated from a tool of a backup. It could be any tool. It could be IBM Tivoli. It could be HP Data Protector. It could be Commvault. It can be any backup tool. So the backup tool does the backup job. To do the backup job, it needs to have an underlying storage. So the data can be stored in a smaller priced storage like S3. So S3 also has a VTL concept. So the VTL is virtual tape library. Is basically a disk to disk backup. A methodology of D2D is called a VTL. I think you guys are not able to catch it. Looks like. Hello.
Senthil, never heard much about tapes, so not much
Ah.
idea about this.
Right, that's okay. See now, as a cloud admin, what you do, you need to understand as a cloud architect. See from a overall perspective, let's talk about what all things happens on the data center, right? So for now, just do unlearning for a bit. Okay, within the data center, the life cycle of a data center for an admin is this: data center as a place which is quarantined and it is physically, it's closed. Like the access is through only HID. The way we enter our office with our access card, right? So people get into a data center, then they go to the respective cage area. Cage area is again contained. Inside cage, what is that? It is multiple racks. Each rack has got multiple components. One of the bigger component is a compute. Second biggest component is a storage. Third biggest component is a network. So compute, storage, network connects together with each other. Okay. On top of it, we create an operating system. It could be Linux operating system. It could be Windows operating system or whatever it is. Well, so we created operating system. Now, what is the way to protect it? So one way to protect it from the user and the public vault is to put the respective firewall and you control and contain the access logically, right? So the next protection, what happens if there is a disaster in my data center? So how will I recover my environment, or how will I recover my data? What has been generated so far? So that is where the backup comes and plays a role actually. So backup is nothing but a copy of the entire information kept in a different form. The one of the form could be one of the form is tape, which is maybe you all know about CD, right? Sometime back you would have used a CD-ROM drive, and you would have written taken a backup or copied the file to the CD-ROM drive. That is plugged into the machine. In this situation, you imagine that CD-ROM drive being kept outside, right? In a different form factor, which is called tape. So tapes are nothing but your magnetic, your type of magnetic strips which takes the data from the tape library. So tape library is one of the important equipment which enables the data backup function. Is there a confuse here? Guys, unless and until you catch this concept, you will not be able to correlate this architecture.
So this is like the job been done by the TSM, like Tivoli Storage Manager.
A Tivoli Storage Manager is one of the backup tool. You're right.
Right.
Right. So if there is 100+ server, it is impossible for an admin to go and log into one after the other server to do the backup. That is where the automation has come in place in the form of tool. Tivoli is one of the good tool. So what happens? 100 commands together, it can be triggered through a software. The software goes and manages the backup by a job which is called batch. The batch and the job is managed through a policy, like when to run, what to run, and how many days to retain, all those things. It does the job, but somewhere the data need to be copied. No, the copying place is actually nothing but the tape. This tape is not there nowadays. The tape is all about like abolished, almost about 7-8 years back. But still, there are some organization who uses it for an economy reason actually. So this tape backup has been taken over by a technology called disk-to-disk backup. So you got a storage, you got a high performance disk populated in it, and you buy one more storage, and you don't buy a high performance disk and you load it with all lower cost disk, and that disk storage is being used for backup in place of tape. So this VTL is nothing but again a storage only, but it is a naming which has been offered here. But VTL functionality is important for the tool like Tivoli or tool like Commvault or tool like HP Data Protector to read and write it. Any doubt? Full doubt. Hello.
Yeah.
No. I think there is a doubt for all of you. Open up, please. It is a bit difficult, I understand, because you don't come from that background of infra. Arvind will know about it actually, because Arvind has been in this industry and he would have done all those things. What, Arvind? Arvind is not there in the class.
Yeah, that's right, Senthil. You're absolutely right. I mean, I have seen the 4mm tapes also. So
look at it, yeah. See,
even till now our client is using the tape backup only.
Now, there are very few select clients actually. Maybe.
And we have to use this Tivoli, and then every year we have to replace those tapes.
Correct. Tivoli is an enabling tool. It is a backup tool.
Right.
Medium is actually tape, or it could be storage.
Right.
Let me go back and help you understanding the basic concept of what is what. Okay. Go to Google and say how data backup works. Say how does data backup work? So it is important for you to learn about data backup and recovery and all those things. Then only you'll be able to move to a concept of HA, DR, BCP, replication, all those terminologies. Unless and until we carry a basic understanding, it's difficult for us to catch up in the subsequent classes. Did you all go to Google?
Yes, Senthil, I'm checking.
Yeah.
So we have this hot backup, cold backup, and all those.
Correct. That is all terminology actually.
Right.
In a backup, there are multiple.
Without bringing down the server.
Correct.
Or you can say online backup and offline backup.
Online backup, offline backup, all those things are methodology which is used to take a backup, because there are certain event you cannot shut down the server. If you take backup while running, it is called online backup. That goes for Oracle, SQL, anything. If you switch off, the services, Oracle or SQL or whatever it is, then you take a backup. Then it becomes like sort of offline backup. Cold backup, basically, cold backup, hot backup is all different form factor names of these two. Let me show you.
Something called cyclic backup and archival backup, right?
Cyclic is basically daily, weekly, monthly. That is called cycle. Archival is taken and it is thrown out to a quarantined area, and that is never read, or it is read once in a blue moon. You see my screen, right? Guys, you are able to see my screen or no?
Yes, sir.
Oh, very good. Let me open it.
Yeah,
this is a good architecture. This is what I will open it. You see this diagram? You see the diagram, no?
Yeah.
Okay. See, if you look at this diagram, what it does really, what it depicts is, see, there are multiple clients. It could be a laptop, it could be desktop, it could be anybody actually, right? They have an access to some of a server. If you look at, there is a cloud, and from the server cloud, there is another cloud going into a backup server. This is exactly what actually which will happen on the AWS storage world. You have a server where the client is connected to, and from that server you can bring the data and put it here, or a client which can access the server, the backup server, which is in the different cloud. It is vice versa. Yeah, I mean, you all use Google Drive, right? Google Drive or Box or Dropbox or whatever it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what is it you get out of it, and how do you think it is working in the backend?
I think they're using the same infrastructure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Not an issue. So let me take a step back and cover the basic aspect of it. See now, Suganya, you created a EC2 instance in your console, correct?
Yes, Sandil, but right now it is stopped, I guess.
No, that is okay. Fine. So imagine a situation in the Mumbai region had a disaster.
Okay.
And your server is gone.
Yeah.
So how will you protect it as an architect? What is your way forward?
I should put it in a, I mean, same like I don't know how to put it into words. Same like whatever you said, Google Drive, right? So I need to do it, or recovery I have to do. Otherwise, I have to take a backup before. I mean, before only.
Correct. So you can take a backup of the image and you can move to a different region. Let's go there. Otherwise, we will not be able to understand. You're following my screen. See, this is a server. Okay. This is my Windows server. Okay. See, this is running somewhere in Mumbai. Mumbai is prone to a lot of floods. If there is a rainy season now, it's very difficult for people to move around, and it is very close to the sea area. And imagine a situation: one of your zones of data center goes down, of AWS data center goes down. I mean, your zone goes down. That means the entire services of AWS, whatever is running there, is not available. Instance of a Windows, you need to protect this in the EC2 server. So how will you do it? What I'll do, I'll go and stop it. Yes, stop. It's taking some time. Let it stop. Okay, it stopped. What I'll do, so I need to protect this. So how will I protect it as an entire operating system? So option for me is to create an image. Okay, I created this image name, I'll say early rise. Okay, one description, backup of my Windows server, right? And this is what it is, right? The root drives are only this, nothing else is there. And I click create image. So the service request for image is started, it's received. We can go and look at this. Meantime, I'll go to some other region, nearest region, Singapore. See what I've done, I've actually selected a instance, EC2 instance, which is nothing but a server, and I'm creating an image. Creating an image is nothing but the entire backup which happens. Wherein in the real world, what you need to do, you need to buy different tools like Tivoli, tools like any other software for doing a backing up of the whole format, which consists of image backup and all those things. In this case, Amazon has the inbuilt component of doing this, so it is creating an image on the backend. Meantime, what I'm trying to do, I am going to create a. I've moved into Sydney, right? So it has taken me to Australia. In the Australia, what I will do, I'll go and create a S3 bucket. Okay. S3 bucket here. It says global, right? Does not require region selection, which is fine. Now I have this early rise bucket, which is anyway there. Okay, that is more important actually. See, S3 is not tied to any region. If you look at the difference between this and other components are this, right? S3 runs globally and we don't know where it is running. And the replication of data, copying data, backing up data, everything is managed by AWS in the backend. And it is a global access. Any instance from any region, from any data center can access the S3. That's what it means actually. Okay, let us go to our region now.
But that is the storage area, right? S3. So if it is somewhere else and your host,
I'll come there. I'll come there.
where it is.
That's okay. We don't have to worry where the storage lies. No, it's a remote cloud somewhere in AWS data center. It is set up. For us,
latency.
The fundamental aspect is protecting the backing up the data, right? So now, if you look at EMIs owned by me, it's still creating, looks like.
Sindhil, one question.
Yes, please.
So when you're creating
this is in Sydney, right? Yeah, I will have to move to Mumbai. Yeah. Sorry, tell me a question. Tell me a question, please.
So when you're creating the image, it is taking a backup of the OS plus the EBS, whatever data.
EBS, yes, whatever there in the EBS. It could have a SQL, it could have a Oracle, it could have a web server role, it can have anything. Whatever files you put in, including that, it is taking an image. It is not a base OS. It is a backup. Complete full backup of the whole server has been, it has been initiated in the background. For this, right?
Yeah, got it.
I was in Sydney earlier, now moved to Mumbai. In the Mumbai, you see this? Got it? It is available. See? Now what I'll do? Copy my EMI. Select destination. Where do I need to move? So I'll select Singapore or Sydney, whichever you want, guys. Let me select Singapore.
Singapore could be, yeah.
Okay. Early rise 1. This is copy, and I don't want to encrypt. Okay. I'll say copy EMI. Now we'll go here. See, the backup is very simple here, guys. We don't have to really worry and about the basic fundamentals of various other things. If you understand the data center relevant component, it will be very easy for you to pick it up. That's what my thought process is all about, and not to scare you across. Look at it; it is still creating. It says pending. The copy progress is happening, and the machine image name is early rise 1, and I moved to a Singapore region or Sydney region. I think it is my Singapore region, right? Hello, team.
Yes, that's right.
I were in Mumbai. Then I initiated the task. Okay, I just selected the option view the status. So I am in Singapore console and it is showing Singapore here. Means a server in India is getting moved to Singapore.
Yes, sir.
Got it? See, this I am doing it with the native feature of AWS. Such functionality, right, or such activity you have to do from your on-premises data center to AWS. That is where actually the storage gateway comes and enables you the future of it. Got it?
Okay. So do we have to, is it mandatory to stop the instance and then create an image, or how it is?
No, it is like this, right? Online backup, offline backup. If you wanted to have a clean state, clean copy of your data, it is good to stop it, take a backup. If you are not worried about the state of the data, then you can do online backup as well. There is no harm in it. You can do both. So whatever been acted on in the server that particular time, at that second in which it touches, that file may not be present. The integrity, right? It is all about integrity. Okay, let this image be take some time. I think it's about 10-15 GB of data, right? So it has to move from India to Singapore. It takes a time. We'll get back. Right, I'll go back to my previous console of move to Mumbai region. Okay. I did not select US because it will take a lot of time. The latency between you and India is too much. That is why I selected Singapore actually, guys. Somebody is speaking, I'm not able to hear. Rakshit. Hello. Arvind, you're able to hear me?
Okay.
Hello. Arvind.
Yes, Senthil, you're audible.
Ah, thanks.
Yeah, you are very clear, Senthil. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Rakshit was trying to say something. I could not hear him properly.
Yeah, I know. I think it was echoing a lot, right?
No, it is not even visible actually. I mean, the voice is not clear.
Can you hear me now?
Ah, good, Rakshit. Voice is
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Yes, Rakshit, you are about to ask something. Please ask me.
No. Now it's clear. Okay.
Now it is clear. What did?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So the instance is start. I'll do the start. Right, the instance will start now.
So in real time, we'll take S3 in one of the region and we'll give multiple instances access to that, right? Through this
Correct.
storage gateway.
Correct. See, storage
Correct?
gateway is between your on-prem to AWS. It's a way in which a secure pipe is created through which you will act, I mean, on top of it. See, technically what happens, you know what, I can only provision the instance of a service, which is here, right? There is no point creating a service gateway within AWS and showing you.
Okay.
Got it? So it has to be running on the data center. And from there on, you know, we will have to show the demo actually.
Okay.
Which becomes technically impossible. Got it?
Yes.
But you know, I just want to make sure that you understand the basic elements, like how it need to be put in place, so that you know tomorrow it is easy for you to recollect and think about these options.
Okay.
So Senthil, there are three types of instance type, right?
A,
T, and M. So what
there are multiple types, hundreds of types actually.
Okay.
EC2 diamond. If you go to EC2 dashboard, okay. Select instance and see, you get so many type of instance type EC2. This is actually you know, various machine image. Over and above, you can go to marketplace, AWS marketplace, where you'll have to pay extra for it, right? You can download this image as well. One is Barracuda, which is a firewall. Juniper is again a firewall. This is again a Redshift, which is a data platform, right? And this is Sun Micro Deep Security for all your internal protection of all your workloads. FI is a load balancer. If you're not happy with the load balancer offered by Amazon, you can use this load balancer. And there are a lot of options actually. It's all like a virtual appliance, which is sold. And if you look at the price, no, $2.5 per hour for Big IP Virtual Edition. You see that?
Mm-hmm. Now, I was referring to the T2 micro and all.
I'm just talking about that. You know, this is also an instance only. See, T2 is one type of instance actually. This is the size, instance type. You can
Right.
create,
micro is the size.
yeah.
But the
there are
T2,
multiple, yeah.
M5.
Correct. See, we talked about earlier. You have an Excel sheet, no? Remember, Prasenjit, that has that Excel sheet may be downloaded the different type of form factor of types.
Instance type, yeah.
Right. So if you select a different one, then it will be a different pricing. We are selecting all the smaller one because we don't want to pay money to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can very well go and create an instance of a different size.
Yeah, but that will be chargeable, right? These are the free
These
tier.
are all the free. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You look at this. This is not free, right?
Mm.
And you can select this as well. Just select it. So SQL Server 2019 with SQL. Like, let's select it.
Oh, this is free tier eligible.
Something it says, but it is not enabled.
They're all T2, is it?
Right.
Yes. There's something on M5, M5A, M6G.
Yeah. See, look at the types: T2, T2 Nano, T2. It's a type. You know, you imagine the type as with your T-shirt, right? For young kid, the T-shirt size could be say S, or it is for adult it is M.
No, the size I understood. I just was wondering about those T2, M2, M5.
These are all T-shirt size. It's a different combination of CPU, memory, and disk. Okay. What you choose, and based on that, the type gets selected.
Okay.
It's a good use case to talk about it, right? So where do you need select T2, and where do you select the M series? Where do you select all those things, right? In a real world, what happens? From an architectural perspective, it is very important actually. It is a varying combination of CPU, memory, and storage, which we talked about multiple times, right? Now, if you wanted to run a web server, which is going to have a hit of 10,000 concurrent user, which is running this, basically the web server business is to, stream a news. Normal news time, no problem. If there is a sensational news, like, the central government announces the lockdown extended for another 1 month, people will be going and reading it. Got it? So that particular time, the hit ratio on the server will be quite high actually, wherein the CPU memory need to be scaled according to the requirement which is passed on to the respective server. This comes with an experience actually, right? When you try to work with the domain, you try to understand the domain. FSI is one domain, manufacturing is another domain, media is another domain, retail is another domain, telecom is a different domain. So every domain has got their own industry specific application or a custom developed application. The custom developed application obviously goes through the cycle of performance, non-performance test, and all those things, through which you will try to identify what could be the ideal CPU requirement, an ideal memory requirement, an ideal storage requirement. So this will have to be captured as part of the functional requirement for you to build the required VMs before you decide to launch instance.
This is Arvind.
Yeah, Arvind, please.
I think Amazon announced some new EC2, I think version 6 last week.
They will be keep launching the different
version
that
of, part of that EC2 launch is to have different hypervisor along with the AMD processor. So
correct.
That was the highlight.
No, AMD is one, and they're also tying up with a lot of other processor vendors, right? GPU concepts coming across actually. Now, I am in Singapore, right, where we copied the AMI here. Let us see what's happening there. no running instance, AMIs. Okay, right. How long it took? Maybe about 5 minutes to 10 minutes. It is created at 3.2 exactly. Look at the power of AWS. It moved. What is the size of this storage? So this Windows server is copied here. And what I can do, simply I go select and launch. That's all. Then it is up and running here. Got it, guys? Sukanya. And yeah,
is it within the same region?
No, Ray, it is in Singapore. The server was running in India, no, earlier, Mumbai.
So you created the image in Singapore.
I have actually taken a backup of Mumbai image and I moved it to Singapore. No, so it has come here. I did not create anything in Singapore, no, so far.
Right, that's right.
This is what it is. Early Rise 1. I did not name anything, right? Whatever name I gave earlier, so it moved here. So technically, what happens if India goes? You have a backup in the Singapore. You just launch the server and your service is ready. But it comes with a price. Okay.
Can we access once again in
Singapore?
In different region also?
Maybe.
No. If it is the, yeah.
Rakshit, go ahead. Yes. You wanted to access where? You do it yourself. It will be easy for you.
Other than Singapore.
You can move to Singapore or Europe or America, anywhere, no, wherever the data
same, or
centers.
is it only restricted to?
No way at all. It is
No.
restricted.
Once.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right from Mumbai, where is Mumbai? From Mumbai, Asia Pacific to Singapore, I moved it because I was worried about the latency between US. See, doesn't matter. Actually, from Mumbai, you can put it to North Virginia. From North Virginia, you can put it to India. So what happens technically? This is a production site, then this becomes a DR site for you.
Okay.
In a way, you create a backup. In a way, you also create a cold DR. In the event of services being not available in one region, we can improve of those services on the different region.
Okay.
So methodology, right? So methodology is, it is a protection of the workload. The entire OS image, which can run web server, app server, DB server, whatever it is. I shut down them once. I've created a AMI. Once after the AMI got created, I went to the AMI, and then from there I selected the AMI and moved it to Singapore.
Okay.
Maybe, I mean, it's a good exercise for all of you to do it once. Right? We will break for a break, about 15 minutes if interested. Otherwise, we'll continue.
Let us break. That's it.
You want to break for a few minutes?
Yes, please.
10, I mean, now